Hello again, and welcome back to Books and Coffee. So I have a very wonderful little treat for all of you beautiful people out there. This month of February, I thought we could theme it. So for this month, I'm actually going to be theming it as adult fantasy romance, which we're kind of already touching a little bit like on my last video, but this one definitely. And so with that in mind, we're actually going to be reviewing a series, not the whole series because I haven't read it all the way through as of yet, but we're going to be reviewing the Stonefire Dragon series, written by Jessie Donovan. So for today's video, we're actually going to be reviewing book 1, which is Sacrificed to the Dragons. So I actually don't have a physical copy of the books. I have them on my Kindle, but put probably a picture here or here, wherever we decide to put it. But yes, definitely this will be, I'll put it over here. So this is actually going to be the book that we are going to be discussing today. So before jumping into the book, however, I want to tell you guys a little bit about the author, Miss Jessie Donovan. So some very fun, cute facts about Miss Jessie Donovan. She is actually an American author who loves to travel, read, and spoil her 4 cats, which honestly, I can relate as a fellow cat mama. She has a degree in Japanese, the language, social anthropology, and secondary education. And the reason she has this is because she actually wanted to be a teacher, but it didn't really work out. And then in late 2014 is when she became the New York Times and USA Today best-selling author. And another really cool fact that I liked is that since 2019 to the present, she has actually been very interested in graphic design, and she has been designing her book covers all by herself. So kudos to you. Honestly, I could go on and on about all of the really cute, fun, and interesting facts about Jessie Donovan. So if you guys have the time, definitely check out her bio. I'm gonna actually link it down at the bottom because that her website literally has 10 fun facts about her, and I was like, I love this lady. I want to be her friend. So yeah, there we go. Jessie, if you're watching this, let's be friends. So now in terms of publishing date, the first book in the Stonefire Dragon series, which we're reviewing, was actually released in 2014 on September 23rd. So it's probably around the time where she became the New York Times USA Today best-selling author. And this is one of the reasons why. Because the book's just really that freaking good. And I'm not gonna lie, it really is. So now a little plot summary of the story we are going to be reviewing. So in order to save her brother, Melanie Hall, our main character, agrees to sacrifice herself to one of the dragon clans residing in Britain. She only has one duty, which is to conceive and bear a child that is half dragon, half human, to help repopulate the dragons. However, the dragon man that she is assigned is anything but easy to cope with. After suffering a horrible loss, Tristan MacLeod wants nothing to do with humans at all. However, the clan is desperate and needs his help in order to repopulate their dwindling numbers. So he agrees begrudgingly, to take on Miss Melanie Hall and help repopulate the clan. While he only plans to sleep with her until she's pregnant, chemistry erupts and they start to crave each other like nothing they've ever felt before. So the million-dollar question as to why I chose this book and this series for the month of February is I really enjoyed it. This was one of those book series that got recommended to me through Facebook, which is probably most, if not all of us, can relate. It was a free copy of the first book, and I was like, sure, why not? So I ended up downloading it, and I loved it, and I downloaded the books 2 and 3, and then I had to stop myself because I had other books to read, but definitely will go back and read the rest of the series because it is so good. which actually brings me to my 3 topics of what we're going to be talking about. So my first reason is actually the world building. And holy cow, is it fascinating, like super fascinating. From page 1, I was like, whoa. I will say at first I wasn't really comfortable with the whole idea of sacrificing women. I thought that was a very, what's the word I'm trying to think of? It's like the Dark Ages. There you go. Like a very Dark Ages way of thinking. But as you get into the story a little bit more, you realize that it's not really super archaic, but it is because of the situation that the world is in at this point. For a little context, not too much spoilers, but obviously dragons and humans in this world have, been butting heads and have been enemies for a very long time. Well, at some point, the humans nearly, eradicated all of the dragons. So in order for this not to happen, the dragons actually made a truce with the humans, and now they kind of coexist in this really high tensioned, really controlling situation. Again, won't go into too much details as of yet, but just that concept in of itself was just mind-boggling to me. And it's what fascinated me about this story and the series in general is the world that this book is creating. This world really does make you think of the concept of what would, society be like if dragons really did exist still. How would we coexist? Is this version how we would coexist? Especially if we humans nearly decimated their entire culture and their way of life. It's completely fascinating. Again, I won't go into too many spoilers just yet. There will be a section of the video where we do talk about, where I do go into more details. But we'll get to there. But anyway, yes, the world building, super, super fascinating. This book is really such a page turner, and it literally grabs you, hooks you in, and you're just in for the ride. And it's really great. It's so much fun. One of the things that I was really fascinated in terms of her world building was that this concept of the dragons being kind of not enslaved really, but more at the mercy of humans, is that it really does get you thinking like I said before, how this would work in today's society. Because that's what's also very interesting about this story, is it takes place in the 21st century, in the here and now. So it's how would this work? For me, my whole thought process was do the dragons have rights? And I mean, yes, they do in some retrospects, but they're very hindered on, their freedom. And that just got me thinking as to do we have the right to do that? I mean, we kind of do. We're trying to protect ourselves, but is protecting ourselves right for these primordial creatures who, are so used to such a huge freedom, but now we're constricting them? It was just super mind-boggling. But Miss Donovan does such a wonderful job of bringing about these emotions and these thoughts within the reader, and she does it so well. Not so overwhelming, but very kind of this is how the world works, but is it the right thing to do? What do you think type of deal? And I think she handles this very well, especially with her characters who are extremely strong-minded. So yeah, like I said in the beginning, I wasn't all for the idea of sacrifice to dragons as a really comfortable concept. But as, I read on and I was getting to know Melanie, our main female character, I realized that she is written in a way that, and what I mean by this is that she's super strong-willed, super, determined to get stuff done, to save her brother. But she's also vulnerable. And I loved this concept in terms of just how she handled the whole situation. Because even she was kind of like, this is an archaic way of doing things, but it is the way the world is right now. I don't like it, but I have to kind of go with it in order to do what I can. But you can bet your butt that I am actually going to put forth some effort to maybe change this so that way other women don't have to go through what I'm going through. And I thought that that was just so cool. And it was one of those where it's like, yes, no, I can see somebody doing this if this were a real thing. Like, yes, no, absolutely. Like, I mean, you even experience that in today's society with certain things where you do them because you have to. But you could bet your butt that you're going to do what you can to try to change, the way, so that way others don't have to do what you had to do, kind of thing. And I mean, it's something that we've done over the years and courses of our entire existence. What I also really like about her character is that, again, she's vulnerable, she's sweet, but she's also like not a pushover. And I really like that she kind of just sticks up for herself, especially considering the situation that she's put herself in. She understands that she's gonna have to sleep with Tristan, and have his baby and possibly die. But it's one of those where she isn't just gonna be like, a thing to be used. She makes it very well known to Tristan that she is a person and that she will not be treated rudely. And he does treat her very rudely at the beginning. And I mean, pretty much until mid-book. But it's very interesting how she goes about her emotions and how she kind of accepts but also struggles with this dragon man who hates her for unknown reasons. Like, she kind of figures that it has to do something with the humans, nearly killing all of their kind. That's kind of the basis, duh. But she's also like, why do you hate me so much when I personally have done nothing to you? The minority of humans that hate you have nothing to do with me. And that's something that she's been very forthcoming with him, and is I am different. You can't judge me based off of what other people have done, and I'm not gonna judge you based off what a minority of dragons have done to us. So cut the crap. Another really cool thing I really loved about Melanie's character, and this is where I can actually kind of see the author putting herself a little bit into it, is because Melanie is actually studying anthropology, social anthropology to be exact. And she's wanting to understand the dragon shifter culture. Because like I said, Melanie has that mindset of I'm going to accept the situation that is happening to me because I have no choice. But I am going to do my part in order to change that. And what she's trying to do is she actually comes up with the idea of writing a book about the dragon shifters as they are, about their culture, about, who they are as a society, because she wants to change this archaic, they're just fire-breathing beasts that will come and eat our cows and take your women and our treasures and stuff. She knows that that's all, fantasy bullcrap. And it scares all the humans. And I mean, it gives the dragons a bad name. And of course, the dragons kind of have the same concept in terms of humans. They're just brutalizing people who have pointy sticks. And for her, with her degree and stuff, and as she gets to know the culture, she wants to write a book that she can publish for the humans and for dragons to read, because she wants there to be an understanding between the two cultures. We can get along. What happened back then happened in the past, and it needs to stay there. We need to progress and move forward and be able to coexist with each other. We shouldn't be treating each other the way we do. We shouldn't be limiting these people. And that's what they are. And that's what I love about her too, is that she sees the shifters as people, not creatures, not, grotesque beings. She sees them as people. And it's you know, it's almost one of those where it's like, you're like, yes, no, they are people, you know? Yes, they're fanciful creatures, but they're people nonetheless. And I feel like that hits a lot closer to, you know, real life when it comes to seeing people as people and not judging them by, you know, the color of their skin or so on and so forth. So another reason why I really enjoy Melanie is the way Miss Donovan kind of writes them. And not just Melanie, but like every one of these characters, like I was saying before, she writes them to complement each other in different ways. And so when it comes to Melanie and Tristan, Melanie is kind of the pushback for Tristan, because Tristan has a more black and white view of the world and is very jaded. Again, there's a reason for that. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, at first when I was reading the book and, you know, you're reading about him, at first I was like, no, you're an asshole. Like, yes, I understand why you're an asshole, but you're an asshole. And what's really funny is that I remember thinking this, and then as I was reading and the interaction with Melanie, and even when she finds out why he's an asshole, she points it out to him, like, you know, I'm sorry that happened to you, like, that's cruel, and I understand. That's no reason, though, for you to be a dick to me. Which, again, like, she understands why, but at the same time, she's like, but I didn't do that to you, so don't be a dick. And I was just like, yes, girl, get it. Tell him how it is. Which, again, is just goes to show you why these characters complement each other so well, because they're a challenge to each other, but it's also like in a good character development way, because again, there are some ways where Tristan pushes back at Melanie and makes her have to grow and question some of her thoughts, while at the same time she's pushing back at Tristan, making him think, making him change his mind, and, you know, all this stuff. And it's, yeah, just watching these characters go through their character arcs and like learning to understand and accept that certain actions and things that they've said were wrong, and then being able to change, but not all at once, which is super fabulous. And it's what I love about this book, is that by the end of it, you know, Tristan is still kind of a jerk, but he's gotten better. And it's one of those, he's still learning, as is Melanie, you know, and they're learning to coexist with each other, which is amazing, and I loved it. At the end of it, it all just feels well deserved and well earned, that when you get to that happy ending, it's like, yes, you know, it fills you up with such a good feeling, and I love it so much. Which actually brings me to the third point of why we chose this book, and it is, you know, the writing style. So much like the City Girl book in our last video, along with all of like a lot of other adult fantasies, is that Miss Donovan knows how to write some good sex scenes. And what I mean by that is that she doesn't make it the sole focus of the story. It's part of the story, but it's not the main focus. So what I found really interesting about the way she wrote this book is that, you know, she builds up kind of the sexual tension between Melanie and Tristan at the very beginning, and then it actually happens, you know, the sex scene actually happens very soon, nearly at the beginning of the book. She's done a very good job though at the beginning, you know, from like the beginning of when she starts to when they meet to like their little interaction, and then when they sleep together, like all of that she builds up so well. So when it does happen, it's like, ooh, flavorful, and it, you know, adds that little bit of like, ooh, to the story. But then it's kind of like the aftermath of like them getting to know each other, to understand each other, and to, you know, fall in love. And so that's what I really liked about the way she wrote this, is that it was almost kind of like she's like, okay, here's like, I'm building it up. Here's your sexy time. now out the window, and these characters are going to get to know each other and get through all their bullshit. Which I was like, yes, no, like, it's very well written, and obviously even after the sex scene happens, there is still some sexual tension, but it is one of those where, especially with Tristan and his hatred towards humans, there's that super conflict between him and his dragon that he's trying to understand. And then you have Melanie, who's just going through all of this emotional turmoil and is like very attracted to Tristan, but also is like, he's a dick. Like, I'm not gonna let my body like make me forgive him just so I can get at him, even though I completely understand why she struggles with that, because Tristan's pretty hot, but still, he's a jerk. So even though Miss Donovan writes that first sex scene at the very beginning, it's one of those where she writes it to where it's kind of, it's earned and it's deserved, but it's more of kind of like that, like that tease writing, which is something that I really enjoy when it comes to adult fantasy novels, is that the author will write in a way that kind of teases you, where it gives you a little bit of flavor, but she doesn't give you the whole thing all at once. She kind of like lets you have a taste of it before pulling it back and then slowly working you through the story, so that way when you get to the next, little steamy scene, or even just like a steamy interaction, it's like another taste, like another like, oh, is this gonna be it? And then they kind of like pull away, and then you're like, oh, and then you kind of like chase after, you chase after that high, I guess you could say. And that's what she does so well. And I've read similar books that are very much like that, and oh my gosh, to me, those are the best. That's the best kind of writing style that an author can have. And I mean, it's what gets you through, it's what makes a book a page turner for me. And oh gosh, it's like that kind of story. And it is so time worth investing. It's amazing. I will say, I really loved this book, and I really love these characters. My only gripe, honestly, with it would have to be the way that the characters are described. And what I mean by that is, and it's not just this book, but it's been kind of like other adult fantasy books or other books in general. And we maybe leave a comment down at the bottom if you'd like, because I would really like to know your opinion on it. But I feel like a lot of books, when you read about a character, for example, Melanie is described at the very beginning as a very curvy woman. Now, I love that, but that's all I find out about her, and that's all I know about her until maybe chapter 5, and then it's like, oh, she has curly hair. Oh, like, okay, so that's another description. Because I feel like, I want to get to know this character and what they look like kind of up front, so that way I have a clear picture in my head. Because then what I feel like happens with me is that, okay, so Melanie's curvy, cool. What does she look like? And I kind of just start to make up what she looks like in my head. And most of the time, at least for me, I kind of put my attributes in her. So it's kind of like, making myself a little bit more curvy, but she's got short hair, brown eyes, and dark skin. But then 2 chapters later, I find out, oh, she's got curly red hair and green eyes. And it's like, oh, okay. And then you kind of have to change, the aspect, the thought process in terms of what she looks like. And it's kind of a little frustrating. Now, again, I don't know if that's just a writing choice, or if that's just something that's, that authors do. I don't know. And maybe there's a reason why the authors do that. I would like to think that it's so that way the readers have a chance to put themselves in the shoes of the character, but I also feel like that happens anyway, even when I get a full description of the character. Because again, I put myself in their shoes regardless. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments about that. It was just, something that kind of like, as I was writing out my notes, like, I thought about, I was like, huh, yeah, that is something that I notice a lot in these books. But it did not deter me from loving this book and the series so far in general. So this is the section of the video where spoilers will be had. Not too many, but definitely we'll be going into a little bit more detail about the characters. So if you wish to completely ignore this, especially if you haven't read the book, I would definitely recommend reading it and going to this time, just jump to the end, and then when you have a chance to read the book, you can totally come back and then we can discuss more about these two lovely people. But yeah, so you've been warned. So yeah, I wanted to go into a little bit more detail about the characters. More specifically, Tristan, Melanie a little bit, and then of course, Tristan's sister, Arabella, who you meet later in the book. But to understand Tristan, it's one of those that I found very interesting, and again, a very good writing choice was that Miss Donovan actually writes at the very beginning why, when you get to Tristan's point of view in the story, why he hates humans so much. And it's because dragon hunters, which is a thing that I didn't know was a thing, but kind of like was not surprised. Again, very archaic, very dark ages kind of concept was that I didn't really think about until you find out about Tristan's mom. And it was that dragon hunters had killed his mother. And not only that, but for his sister, they mutilated her face and they like raped her and they nearly raped her and would have killed her for her skin and blood. Like that was just such a mind-blowing thing where it was like, oh my god, that brutality exists. But if you think about it, like, look at the world we live in right now. Like, there's so much brutality towards, us, and we're just humans. Can you imagine if like dragons actually were a thing here in real life? I wouldn't be surprised that there would be dragon hunters doing this, really mean stuff and cruel. And so like understanding where Tristan comes from in terms of his anger and his hatred towards humans, that's the get-go right there. And what's really interesting is that, again, when Melanie finds this out, she doesn't immediately go to Tristan. She tries to get him to like her based off of who she is. And it's one of those where at some point she does, mention that she's found out about his mother, because he doesn't tell her. And he gets kind of like not offended, but angry that she finds out. And at one point she basically tells him, like, what happened to your mother was cruel and it should have never happened. But I didn't do that to her. Like, the minority of humans that did that to her, like, yes, you have a right to be very angry with them. You don't have a right to be angry with me, though, because I'm not like that. And you've seen, like, proof that I'm not like that, I just want to get to know you and help you and build a better future for your people and my people. And it is something that Tristan kind of like struggles with, especially because another really cool concept is that, in this book is that there's a human side and a dragon side to a dragon shifter, which only makes sense within this world. And it's so cool to kind of, it's cool and cute, I feel like, when in the book you're reading the dragon's thoughts, because the dragon is like pure beast. And that's something that I thought was really cool too in the way that Miss Donovan writes it, is that, Tristan is constantly struggling with taming the beast, because the beast just is like, I want her now, take her to the bedroom, like, I want to, like, cuddle with her on the grass, like, we must protect the human. It's very, like, straightforward, very primal instinct to mate, to sleep, and to eat. And it's really funny because sometimes, like, Tristan's like, bro, like, there's more to life than just eating, than sleeping with her, and snuggles. Like she's human. We have to, like, there are other things that she needs other than those three. And the dragon's like, but that is life. But yeah, one of the critical points though in the story is when Tristan and Melanie go and visit Tristan's sister, Arabella. She's kind of a recluse at this point, which makes total sense in terms of like, what's happened to her and all of this stuff. And you come to learn that Tristan has been trying to get her to come out of her cottage because she's been staying in there and she's become a recluse. She's super smart though. Like in the book, you kind of find out that she's been very into the technology of the human realm and is kind of taking advantage of it and is using it to help protect the clan in terms of security. Like she's the one that came up with, some of their security cameras, some of their fences and stuff that helps keep the little ones safe. Yeah, she's very, very smart, but she is also like immensely terrified of of not just the dragon hunters, but of herself. And to the point where you kind of come to find out that she actually is so traumatized that she is constantly shoving her dragon side, like she's holding it in. And you come to find out, from Tristan, that that's not a healthy thing to do, obviously. And that if she continues to push her dragon and scare her dragon away, at some point, her dragon is going to burst out and she's going to be uncontrollable. And there's nothing that he or anyone is going to be able to do, because the only person the dragon's going to listen to is either a clan leader or Arabella herself. And I was like, whoa, it's really scary. And again, you come to love Arabella and feel for Arabella. You don't get too much time with her though in this book, but she just becomes such an integral part for Tristan and for Melanie in their relationship. Because at this point in the book, Tristan is finally coming to understand that Melanie isn't like how he thought, humans were. Yes, he knows, and Melanie knows too, that, there are some jerk humans, aka the dragon hunters. But Melanie is proving to him that, okay, not all humans are evil. And I was wrong to judge them. And at this point, Tristan's like, I want to have a future with Melanie, but Melanie has to be able to get along with my sister in order for that future to even be a reality. Because at this point, Melanie is pregnant with Tristan's baby. And it is one of those where he starts to have conflicting feelings for her. That he's trying to be like, am I feeling this because she's pregnant with my baby, or is this something that I'm feeling genuinely? And that's something that Melanie struggles with too, is that, are his feelings for me that she's kind of feeling? She goes, is it actually him, or is it only his dragon side, protecting me and wanting to be near me because I have his baby? And it's such a interesting dynamic. And the reason why Arabella's interaction is so important to them is because, like I said, Arabella is Tristan's last piece of family, and vice versa. And so if Melanie doesn't get along with Arabella, or Arabella hates Melanie and can't stand the sight of her, then, in Tristan's mind, it's kind of like, I can't abandon my sister. As much as I am attracted to you and possibly could love you and have a future with you, that can't happen unless my sister is comfortable with you. Which to me, I thought was such a beautiful thing in terms of, like, if you think about it, because there is certain situations in life where, you're with somebody and, you want, that relationship to work, but there is somebody in your life that is equally, if not more important, that if these two don't get along, or if these two, just can't coexist together, then the possible future with that person is a little harder to handle. Well, in terms of rating for Sacrificed, to the dragons. I am absolutely going to be giving this book a 5 out of 5 steamy little coffee cups. I definitely absolutely recommend you all read this book. You can download it digitally. I'll put a link down in the description for you for Amazon, or physical copies, wherever you choose to read or how to read. But yes, definitely recommend reading this book and the other ones as well. They're all such a good series. I absolutely loved it. I love Miss Jessie Donovan, and I love the way she wrote this book and the other ones as well. It's just a cute, short little read. It's about like 20 chapters long. Again, you could read it over the span of a couple of days, an afternoon, however you choose. But definitely get yourself a copy. Thank you so much again, friends, for joining me on another wonderful little adventure. Like I said, we're going to be reviewing the next 2 books for the next couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that. And then, of course, at the end of the month, I have a very special surprise for you all in terms of a book that is very, very close to my heart. And who knows, I might have another little surprise for you. So yeah, thank you. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.